Are you ready to unlock the secrets of international trade? Stay tuned as we delve into the fascinating world of Incoterms. From the days of sailing ships to the modern era, FAS has a rich history filled with opportunities and challenges. We will explore the benefits, drawbacks, and hidden complexities of this shipping rule in this video. If the complexities of international trade intrigue you, you will be interested in what happens next. Welcome back to Shipping Revisit. The focus of attention is on the free alongside ship today. Irrespective of your level of experience as an exporter, you should be familiar with FAS, so let's get started. The FAS free alongside ship rule dates back to the days of sailing ships and mandates that the seller place the goods next to the buyer's designated vessel. However, FAS is not commonly used today, but it can still be the right choice, especially for heavy machinery shipments. Goods are positioned near the vessel at the wharf or on a barge. The buyer or the vessel's equipment will load the goods onto the ship. The goods remain undelivered until the vessel is present at the shipment port, allowing them to be positioned alongside it. Now, let's explore the key changes and updates. FAS has been around since the original Incoterms in 1936. In the past, it didn't specify export formalities, but by 1953, it required the seller to assist the buyer in obtaining export licenses. In Incoterms 2000, the responsibility for carrying out export formalities switched logically to the seller. Export formalities are the seller's responsibility, while import formalities fall on the buyer. Since the buyer arranges for transportation, the bill of lading should designate the buyer as the shipper, not the seller. To satisfy their VAT GST requirements, the seller will typically request a mate's receipt or proof of export, like a copy of the bill of lading. Because of its origins, FAS is suitable only when the seller can place goods directly alongside the vessel. It's not ideal for container shipments, whether full or less than container load, as these are typically delivered to the carrier at an inland point such as a container yard CY for FCLS or container freight station CFS for LCL consolidations. Now, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of FAS for the seller. This rule gives the seller the advantage of placing the goods alongside the vessel designated for shipment. However, there are potential disadvantages for the seller. They might have scheduled the goods to be positioned alongside the vessel on a specific date, only to arrive and discover that no vessel is available for loading. This delay could result from congestion at the loading port or adverse weather conditions. The risk of loss or damage to the goods remains with the seller until the vessel is in a position for the goods to be unquestionably considered to be alongside. Another disadvantage for the seller is that, unless both parties agree otherwise, the seller must assist the buyer in obtaining the required transport document, typically the bill of lading. If the seller only receives a mate's receipt, they must present it to the buyer in order for a bill of lading to be issued. Assume the bill of lading is issued to the seller. In that case, it is prudent to confirm whether they are entitled to be named as the consignor or shipper under the carriage contract. This precaution is necessary to avoid unintended consequences. Because the seller is not required to load the goods onto the vessel, such a bill of lading is more accurately referred to as a received for shipment bill of lading. The buyer benefits from having control over the loading process and access to the vessel. It's their responsibility to ensure the vessel has the necessary equipment for loading from the quay or barge. The costs and risks associated with loading fall on the buyer. Suppose the buyer requires additional documents, such as a certificate of origin. In that case, the seller must assist with the buyer's request. However, the buyer bears any costs or risks of obtaining these documents. It's worth noting that complications may arise if the authority in the seller's country only recognizes a registered company as the exporter, shipper, or consignor, as the seller is solely the exporter and not the shipper or consignor. Paying for an FAS shipment with a letter of credit can be tricky. If loading doesn't happen on the same day as goods are placed alongside, both parties must allow for a margin on the latest shipment date. Using a letter of credit to settle a FAS shipment may pose challenges if there is no pre-arranged agreement for the buyer to obtain a bill of lading marked as on board. Suppose loading isn't expected to happen simultaneously with the goods being placed alongside the vessel. In that case, both parties must allow for a margin on the latest shipment date. And that's a wrap on free alongside ship, or FAS, under the Incoterms 2020 rules. With its rich history, this rule remains a valuable option in international trade in the right situations. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please share it and give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode.